One of the most stunning destinations I've visited in my life is Antarctica. The combination of extreme wilderness, unique animals that haven't learned to be scared of you yet, and the changing nature and weather, sometimes every 30 minutes, was quite an experience. You certainly feel like you are at the very end of the world and are rather adventurous indeed. The reality is different though. Sure, you're far away from everything and the isolation is real, but I had a well-stocked and warm ship to return to, with cooked food and a comfy bed with a mattress and not a block of ice. Imagine the early explorers to this continent. There was no GPS, very little support, and one false step could mean instant or very slow death. I always wanted to commemorate my small achievement with owning an Antarctic themed watch. I've looked at both Zinn and Oris in the past, but their offerings aren't cheap and my ever-shrinking budget for more watches doesn't allow for too much flexibility. Nivada Grenchen is a brand I've come across before and reviewed here on my channel. The combination of quality, price and history is very hard to beat. So when they decided to release a fateful re-edition of the Super Antarctic that a fan of the brand posted on Instagram, I knew I had to get on the pre-order train at €650. This is not a loaner, I bought this with my own money. Spoiler alert for this review, it is very nice and I only have one complaint. Join me and let's have a close look at the Super Antarctic. If you like what I do, please consider a like and subscribe. It means a lot to me and my small channel, and it's a small thing you can do to help me bring more reviews of unique watches. Thank you so much in advance. First, let's eject the large, heavy elephant from this room. It looks like a current generation Rolex Explorer. With that in mind, the model that this is based on is from the early 1950s. And so is the Explorer. And that early 50s Explorer actually did not look like the current Model 1 at all. The Rolex watches that went up Everest, for instance, were actually oyster watches. Those models were what collectors now refer to as pre-Explorers. So nothing like the current Explorers that you can, or rather cannot, buy from Rolex. Anyway, the Antarctic from Nivada Grenchen was made for the American Navy during their expedition to the South Pole from 1955 to 1956. It had to be rugged, waterproof and legible. All we really need to know is that there is solid history here and we're not buying yet another homage or so-called inspired by something or other piece. Let's go straight to the dial here. The logo is the old Nivada, period-specific one, which I think is gorgeous. Automatic is printed below in all caps and a sans serif font. At just above the 6th position, we have the beautiful cursive writing spelling out the Super Antarctic and 25 jewels in the movement. All these details are identical to the original. The indices are all applied, easy to see and have enough lume, which I'll cover shortly. Again, the hands are obviously very reminiscent of Rolex, not quite the Mercedes hour hand here, but the same round lollipop with an arrow. The long fence post minute hand extend to just caress the train track minute markers, and it's very easy to see the time at a casual glance. Overall, the dial is legible and attractive. Sure, there are Explorer vibes here, but also early Seiko Alpinist. The important detail here once again is that the history and connection to the 50s here is strong. These watches were all from the same era, but I think it's obvious that Nivada is the only forgotten one. We're so lucky to have this brand resurrected. Now we get into my only complaint, and it's the colors used in this white version. In direct white light, there is no difference, but in any other light, there is a different shade on the hands versus the indices, and it's hard to unsee. The hands are a stark bluish white, whilst the indices are a greenish white. I can't work out why, since the loom color is identical. I've reached out to Nivada to get some clarification, and I will update in the description when I hear back. On this new model, the only obvious modern updates are better loom and also double dome sapphire glass on top of the dial. It's very attractive with subtle distortions from an angle. You know, the kind that makes us silly watch nerds go all weak at the knees over. The high polished bezel will of course attract scratches, but that's okay. I think it'll look even better with a few LifeWell LED scars. One dead giveaway that this is a fateful reissue is the tiny crown. It's screw-in and signed. It's quite fiddly to manipulate, but I forgive it since it's again identical to the original as far as I can see. Moving on to the case, the downturned lugs and flat polished details seems to be a noticeable diversion from the original model, but there has been so many of those too that my research could be inadequate here. Either way, they are long and have a few nice facets that seems to catch the light nicely. And despite my large 19cm wrist, the overall 38mm diameter, 11.5mm height and 45mm lug to lug means that the watch fits me well. We have no drilled holes on these slender lugs, but all straps come with quick release bars, so it's only been a small issue when I attached this Artem canvas strap recently, which I think works well to bulk up the overall look of the watch a bit. The leather straps supplied are a good quality Italian leather with logos and signed buckles. And whilst you can get bracelets when you order yours, leather is probably the best choice for this watch in my opinion, particularly if you're about to go hiking to the South Pole. Flipping the watch over will have us not see the Soprod P024, which is based on the ETA 2824-2. This is an automatic movement with 40 hours power reserve that also hacks and hand winds. What's more interesting here is the gold medallion that again commemorates the expedition to the South Pole. The main takeaway from this little thing is the mountains, which is a clear memory of mine. Antarctica is home to Mount Vinson, which is 4,892 meters or 16,000 feet above sea level, and there are plenty of other high peaks like this one. This often surprises people about this rugged continent. It really is one of our last untouched wildernesses on this planet. The loom is Super Luminova, and I'll let you have a look at it in peace here. The Nivada Super Antarctic is a keeper for me. It's perfectly sized, has plenty of history, and most importantly, offers that perfect combination of history and looks at an unbeatable price. I wasn't quite game to go for the Antarctic Spider model, which you should check out on their website. But if you are, then power to you, since that is properly cool. I hope I've inspired you to go and visit this awesome continent. But if not, perhaps you're now considering buying a piece commemorating one of the most notable achievements of the 1950s. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.